She saved the day, but got so lost in thought that when the last subway left, she realized she was just an ordinary person about to be late. She just reached the office by bus 11, and a coworker asked, "Got big news?" Because why else would she be late today? Just as Walter wondered what was happening at the office, she found her sister there. It was her 42nd birthday. Her sister brought a homemade orange cake from Mom. After saying goodbye, Walter finally realized. Walter learned from her colleagues that their magazine company had been acquired. The last paper issue would be their final dance. On the surface, she played it cool, but inside, panic was setting in. If they went online only, she wouldn't need to develop film anymore. This meant she could be laid off at any moment. Walter wandered into the lab with a dazed look. A coworker informed Walter that their staff photographer Sean had sent over the film for the last magazine issue, plus a gift just for her. Walter unwrapped the package and found a postcard first, thanking her for her printing work, though they'd just been colleagues. Walter had never made a mistake in her career, and the letter went on to describe Sean's take on this film. He claimed that shot number 25 was his best work ever and proposed it for the cover of the final issue. He hoped Walter could present it perfectly, and there was also a wallet wrapped in oilskin paper with the company logo embossed on it. Walter had heard that kind of thing for years. It didn't really touch her. Just then, a coworker brought bad news. They had sorted Sean's film, but the all-important shot number 25 was missing. Before they could figure out where the missing shot went, another coworker rushed in. They informed Walter that a meeting about the final issue was happening upstairs, and she needed to bring shot 25 right away. Walter felt a wave of panic and told her coworker to keep quiet about the missing shot. She planned to buy time with excuses, but the manager publicly brought up photographer Sean's proposal at the meeting. The company had agreed to make shot 25 the cover, and they asked Walter to showcase it. Walter had nothing to show, so she faked calmness and said the shot was still developing, and the interim manager had to let it go for now. Little did Walter realize that the missing shot number 25 would soon bring a drastic change to her life. Because the girl Walter had a crush on, Cheryl, just happened to work in the mailroom. Walter finally gathered the courage to talk to her. He wanted to ask if she could help track down Sean's mailing address, and Cheryl happily agreed to check back. But Sean usually traveled around the world for shoots, so she couldn't ensure he was still there. Just then, a coworker approached Walter, suggesting they check the other films near shot 25. Maybe they could find clues to Sean's shoot location. Walter quickly developed the surrounding films, but after looking at them for ages, she was still confused. At that moment, Cheryl found her and said that Sean's films were all sent via international freight, making it impossible to pinpoint his location. However, she heard Sean had cashed a check that morning, and if Walter needed it, she could ask her finance friends. Walter gladly accepted the offer, and they both stopped hiding things, sharing the news about the missing film with Cheryl to see if she had any ideas. Walter pulled out the first film. It was The Stranger's Thumb. She was sure it wasn't Sean's hand. The second photo showed a body of water, but with no identifiable landmarks. The third shot was even weirder. It was completely unidentifiable. Looking at these bizarre photos, Cheryl felt helpless too and thought it was best to check with her finance department buddy. Suddenly, Walter's phone rang. It was her sister again. The sister had brought a birthday gift, a tan-light superhero toy, which was Walter's favorite from childhood. They joked around for a bit, but when Walter got back to the office, the coworker said they'd found text after enlarging one of the photos. Walter guessed that it might possibly be the name of a ship, and he needed someone to help verify it. The coworker suggested Walter head back and check for any other clues. Just then, the interim manager walked into the elevator and immediately asked Walter for shot 25 again. Walter had to come up with another excuse, but this time the manager was not pleased and criticized her for being too distracted at work. They were about to get into it when he tried to snatch her toy. Walter lost her cool and gave him a whack on the head. They ended up brawling in the elevator, bursting out onto the street in a superhero showdown. Yep, Walter's daydreaming took over again. The manager's pressure made him feel stressed, and he started fantasizing about taking him down. The sudden daze amused the manager. He didn't push her further and just reminded her to keep the photo situation in mind. Walter found Cheryl and told her how they had noticed the text in the photos. Cheryl immediately pulled out her phone to search for info, but the internet was crawling. She had to pick up her kit at the park, so she invited Walter along. It was their first stroll together in the busy streets, and they were starting to bond. Walter was quiet, while Cheryl was outgoing and pretty much led the conversation all the way. It was then Walter learned that Cheryl had been raising her son solo since her divorce, which made her anxious about the company being acquired. Walter had never really talked to Cheryl this long. They both feared that the layoffs might endanger their jobs. As they entered the park, Cheryl's phone rang. Walter ended up playing with Cheryl's kid, who was skateboarding, and it was a sport Walter loved and had won awards for as a child. Spotting the boy struggling with the basics, Walter patiently coached him while sneakily showing off, instantly earning the boy's admiration. Unfortunately, Cheryl was too busy on the call to notice, walking over to tell Walter she needed to go to Greenland to pick up the check. Walter was utterly taken aback. The distance to that place was over 2,000 kilometers. Walter asked Cheryl about the search, and she smiled, telling him all clues pointed to Greenland. They could almost confirm Sean was there, and Cheryl encouraged Walter to go and uncover the truth. But Walter could only awkwardly respond that purchasing a ticket to Greenland would nearly wipe out all his savings. As he just got back to the office, don't forget to hit subscribe.